Hi and welcome to GRVOTV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I'm just going to do my preview, initial thoughts on the newly announced Panasonic GX8. I haven't got the camera yet, it's not available here in the UK yet. I'm not privileged enough to get pre-production models, or nobody gives me anything or anything like that. So if I want to do a review of the camera, I'll have to go out and put £1,000 down and buy it myself. So this is just my initial thoughts on the specs. I can draw some sort of experience because I've had all the Panasonic GX range actually, the GX1 which was the first one. I had the GX7 which I loved, and also why did I sell that? I wish I'd kept the GX7 anyway. And now obviously the GX8 has come out. Now if you go back and look at my reviews of the GX7, you'll see that I love that camera, but there were a couple of issues with it. One of the issues, and these are all things that I've mentioned, and they appear to have been corrected or put right or improved upon in the GX8, which is fantastic. So first of all, the screen, it only flipped up, which I don't like, and I think I said, the GH4 has got, and the GH3 have got the tilty flippy screen that comes out to the side, does everything, and that is the perfect system for me. So they've put that on, which is great. The second one is a small point, but on the GH4 there's a little button and a lever which is autofocus continuous, autofocus single shot, or manual focus, all on one lever. On the GX7 they only had two of the options on there, which was, to me, was silly. Now they've changed it and they've put all three options back, and you've got that nice little lever, and it's right where you want it. Perfect, love that. I'm very often changing from single shot to continuous shooting and manual focus, so that is something I use a lot, and it is important to me. So that's great that they've changed that. Microphone input was one of the main reasons why I got rid of the GX7, because there was no way of getting decent audio straight into the camera. You just couldn't do it. You couldn't attach anything. There was no way of doing it. And I said at the time, they give you a HDMI and a USB, which, as far as I know, most people don't use those kind of things anymore. And there's always other ways round that, like using there was a thing for a remote socket. Well, I could use my phone or my iPad and an app to do that. But with no microphone socket, there was no other option of getting sound in. So what have they done? They've given us a microphone socket, but they put the 2.5mm one in, which is for their remote thing, and it's like, oh my god. But no problem, you just buy an adapter, and I think I've got one somewhere. It's just a 2.5 to 3.5mm adapter, but they've put a microphone socket in it, which is great. So I'm happy with that. Now, the other major issue for me is the autofocus wasn't fantastic. It was pretty good, but it wasn't fantastic. But they've put the autofocus system in from the GH4, which is their depth from defocus thing. I don't understand it for 1 minute what it does, but it worked quite well in the GH4, so there's no reason why it won't work better than the GX7 on the GX8. So I'm pleased with that. It's still a contrast-based system, but it is definitely better than what they've had before. And the actual single-point autofocusing was never a problem anyway. It was fast, responsive, it was fantastic. And the fact that the GX8 is quicker, it's going to be even better. So that's that's a no-brainer. I'm well pleased with that. The big selling point of this camera, which to me is a bit of a shame, is that they bumped the resolution from 16 megapixels to 20 megapixels. Now I can see why they've done it. It's a first for a micro four thirds. It's moving in the right direction, but my concern is, well, it's not a concern, because from what I've seen, the low light performance is actually better, probably a stop better than the GX7. Maybe half a stop, not sure yet until I see it for myself. But in my mind, if they'd kept it to 16 megapixels, improved the sensor, would they have not got 2 stops better? low light performance, and then you're pushing it into like APS-C categories for low light performance, where you're able to shoot at, you know, maybe if you're happy with 1600 on the GX7, you could have pushed it to 6400. That would have been great. But anyway, it's got a 20 megapixel sensor, nothing you can do about that. It's going to have more resolution. They've apparently the low light capabilities is improved, but we'll see. So I'll be interested to see that. Maximum shutter speed 1/16,000th of a second, so no problems using fast lenses in low light, even though the base ISO is 200. You can drop it down to 100, so you still get the same effect, but base ISO is essentially 200. But good to have 1/16,000th of a second. 4K internal recording movies. They've taken some bits out of the GH4 and put it into the GX8, which again is great, and it's going to give you lots of different options. The viewfinder has been improved. I had no problems with the one with either with the screen or the viewfinder on the GX7, so the fact that they've been improved, again, it's a no-brainer. It's fantastic. It's going to be even better. Metering system's been improved. The actual controls on the GX7 were fantastic, and they've now been improved where they've given you a bigger grip. They've given you an exposure compensation dial underneath the PASM dial, which is, in my mind, absolutely fantastic. There's no drive mode dial like on the GH4, where you go from like single shot to continuous shooting, stop motion video and things like that on it, but because of the way they set the buttons up on the back, that's still easy to access with one click. Beautiful touchscreen is going to be on the GX8. If it's, you know, they say it's again improved over the GX7, which was fantastic. The way the touchscreen is integrated, that's another reason why I got rid of, well, one of the reasons why I got rid of the OM5 is that the touchscreen, it just was nowhere near as good as the Panasonic ones. In-body image stabilisation, and it's now dual, so you've got 4-axis image stabilisation in the body, and then if you put on something like, this is one of the supported lenses, the 12 to 35, that gives you another 2-axis, which gives you 6-axis image stabilisation. So I don't know what that is. That's up, down, that's 1, left, right, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know where they get 6 from, but anyway, apparently it's as good as, if not better than, what's in the EM5 Mark II. Obviously, if I put this lens on, I'm only going to get 4-axis, and this one 4-axis, but I still think it's going to be good. Hopefully, we'll see. Magnesium alloyed body, weather sealed, which is great. They're really pushing this as sort of pushing it into the pro, semi-pro lineup, which leads me on to the fact that there's no flash built in. Now, the old one didn't have a hot shoe, so that it does limit you a bit, but it did have a pop-up flash, and they've obviously there's not enough room apparently for both. So they've given you a hot shoe. It would have been nice if they included a little flash like they did on the EM5 and the M1 and cameras like that, but there's nothing, so if you want a flash you've got to buy one. To me, it's no problem. I didn't once use the flash on the EM5. Actually no, I did use it once. Yes, I used it literally once, the flash on the M5, so it's not something I'm going to miss, and if I decide to, I'll probably, you know, if it was a camera that I was going to buy and keep, I would just buy Panasonic's little cheap flash. It's quite basic, just a TTL1, that would do. Downsides from what I can see, and these are downsides for some, and upsides for others, in that obviously the reason we love Micro Four Thirds is the size and the weight. Now, both of those have been increased over the GX7, and I understand it's to do with cooling and the fact that it's weather sealed and it's magnesium alloy, and you know they've put in more stuff, so it stands to reason it's got bigger. As to how much bigger, I don't know. We'll see. And I don't think it's going to be an issue, because the look of the camera compared to the GX7, it's just a little bit bigger, but it's bigger in a good way, in that it's a better grip, it's going to be better to handle, it's going to obviously be more robust. So for me, it's not a bad thing. Still, compared to my old DSLRs, it's still a smaller system. A lot of that is to do with the lenses, and that's why I'm not really subscribed to the Sony A6000 and the Sony A99s and things, because you have a smaller body, but you still end up putting a dirty great lens on it, so it defeats the object. I mean, this is my biggest lens. This is the Olympus 40-150. It's a big lens, but it's not huge and it's not that heavy. It's heavy for a Micro Four Thirds compared to something like this, but it's a wonderful lens. It's an 80-300. It goes out to over 400 mils, an f4 lens when you put the teleconverter on. You know, it is a stunning piece of kit. So, you know, I think it's going to match quite nicely with the GX8. So there you go, that's my initial thoughts. Oh, the other thing is, I don't think it looks as nice as the GX7. The GX7 had a really pleasing aesthetic about it. It was a lovely looking thing. People commented on, oh, what a nice looking camera. I'm not sure this looks as nice in the pictures. I have not seen one in real life yet, so obviously once they're in the UK, I might even buy one. We'll see, and I'll certainly get one somehow to do a review on. So there you go. This has been GRVOTV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. Just my initial thoughts on the Panasonic Lumix GX8. I'll see you soon. Bye.